Making a sequel is always risky. Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies. It would be in my top 10 list easily. There's tons of reasons why it's a great film. The cast of characters, the revolution of CG animation, the action adventure of surviving through such an insane situation, and those small, great moments of seeing dinos back alive. But where do you go with the story from here? To quote Michael Crichton himself, because it has to be the same but different, if it's really the same, then it's the same, and if it's really different, then it's not a sequel. So it's in some funny intermediate territory. The way the movie ended makes it hard to continue the story. Hammond's dream fell apart, the island is basically uncontrollable, you have all this legal BS surrounding the incident. I love a sequel to a good film, but it's at the risk of having things become stupid in order for us to go back. I was a bit disappointed that Ian was the only one who returned. Park movies always have this thing of teasing old actors, but have them as guests half the time. We see Lex and Tim, and then they're gone. I was like, what? But at least Ian is my favorite character. He's the only one that uses his brain 99% of the time. I'd be him if I was in the movie. Thank God they didn't change him. He still acts as he did. And the premise of the movie is good. They acknowledge all the red tape that's around this huge disaster. And they do set up basically the hostile takeover from InGen, which unfortunately turns them into total jokes by the time we get to Fallen Kingdom. It's not impossible to make sequels that work really good after Jurassic Park, but there are stupid plot holes that make the movie suffer. I think before I start, I want to try to explain the whole CG looking great in Jurassic Park. This has basically become a meme at this point. How did we go from this to this? There's two big factors that give away CG. Lighting and movement. Why does everyone say Jurassic Park looks amazing nearly 30 years later, while in Fallen Kingdom, dinos look like rubber or have weird issues? The next time you watch Jurassic Park, count how many times dinosaurs are seen during a clear day. It's infrequent. The movie has the story take place mostly in the night. It's not just for mood and drama, building up the tension and eeriness of the dinosaurs. It has a major purpose. It's to hide mistakes. Lighting CG in brightly lit locations is very difficult because it requires the subject to react to that light properly. Being in the dark removes most of those issues. Dark hides detail, rain hides flaws. Any defects in the CG will be harder to notice. Of course, there are some great moments in the film that happen in the day. The stampede, the T-Rex roar in the building, the first reveal of the Brachiosaurus. But in all those cases, the dinos stay at a distance, or things were moving quickly. The second factor, the first movie relied heavily on animatronic versions of the dinos. If they had a close-up or a behind view, it usually was the on-set dino. As we went through the films, they used less and less practical dinos to nearly every shot with CGI. It ends up being easier to just make everything CG, but now you have more shots, less time to work on the CGI, and the audience is looking at the CG more and more. Plus, the movies put dinos in all environments now. You can't rely on darkness anymore. You will see the flaws in muscles, things feel slow or floaty. When I move my arm up and down, it's not at a consistent, perfect speed. Humans aren't robots. When animating, that randomness of speed and weight is very hard to replicate. And since you can't motion capture dinosaurs like people, it has to be done by simulation and keyframe animations. So the motions are very smooth, artificial. Things you might not perceive, but something still feels wrong. Movements in some shots look like they're in glue. They also have to interact with more things now. Trees, bushes, vehicles, more for you to pick apart. And the third factor, CG is common now. The reason why Independence Day was a massive hit, it was something that was new. If it was made today, it'd be like every other movie we've seen hundreds of times. CG is common. CG is generic. People are going to be more critical of it now. Now back to our scheduled program. At this point, the world doesn't really know about the dinos. For all intents and purposes, Ian looked like a crackpot. InGen lied out of their teeth, so everything has stayed hidden from the general public. The movie is giving some justification to things falling apart. Hammond's health is failing, so InGen is taking over. But what the hell has been going on for the past 4 years? How come random people were able to land on the island and get attacked? I think anyone with the brain and the money that Hammond has would put a perimeter around the islands. I know you can't realistically cover hundreds of miles. People could sneak in, but this is just a normal rich family taking a lunch break. Poachers or a camera crew coming on the island would have made more sense. And the movie cheekily had Ian say this to Hammond, but quickly ignores and never answers why this wasn't done. Positives for the film. The hero cast is fine. They do a decent job introducing us to all the key characters. The way Hammond forces Ian back works. It opens up what the hell he's been through since all this crap. His first marriage fell apart. He's dealing with his daughter. He's dealing with his current girlfriend. I didn't hate any of the heroes. You get to see the type of preparation that's needed to go to a place like this. Ian's going to be anal retentive about everything. He just wants to get on the island and then get off. Eddie and Nick get enough character to feel like people, and it's nice this time around. Ian has people around him he can rely on. The villain side doesn't get the same praise from me. The plot of the movie is this family war between Hammond's nephew, who's taking control of InGen, trying to salvage what's left of the Jurassic Park idea by hiring a capture team to bring back all kinds of dinosaurs to the first version of the park that's located in San Diego, while Hammond, after the first movie, wants to make amends of what he did. He wants to preserve the habitat. Ian's team is there to document it so that Hammond can reveal to the world and then get the islands, I guess, turned into preservation sites. Now, the hunters look smart at first glances, but when you really look at the InGen team, I have questions. I know these guys are professionals. They hunt game, the best that money can buy. They have all kinds of gear. We get this big action intro of them capturing dinos. Then we meet Roland, the leader of the hunters. He's the smartest, stupidest person in the movie. So what does he want out of this mission? Is it money? Is it praise? Is it fame? No, he wants to go after a T-Rex and get it as his prize. And I'm looking at what he's using. A freaking shotgun. I mean, we've never had the chance to deal with dinosaurs before, and I don't know how to use a gun, personally. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not going to pick a shotgun if I was going after dinosaurs. I'd be modifying an ATV with a 50 cal minigun. You're hunting animals that are 10 to 100 feet tall, and you just bring a shotgun? Not to mention, no team. If Roland got his way with the baby dino as bait, he would have been killed. What was he going to do with that shotgun against 2 T-Rexes? I'm sorry, but I have a sniper as backup. But that brings me to further questions. InGen wants to get these dinos any way they can. Money is no object. They bring all these cars and guns. Why doesn't anyone have explosive, grenades, RPGs, or use those helicopters with air-to-ground missiles? I know the point is for them to capture them alive, but you need that type of firepower on standby if things go bad. You can't have it both ways. Be one of the richest companies in the world sending everything to the island, but not bring C4 and drones with you. This is the danger of making a sequel. In the first movie, you didn't have the experience, but now you do. Unless you give a reason why you don't bring more powerful guns, you look freaking stupid. The same goes for the Jurassic World films. Every dino encampment should have weapons that pop out of the floor if anything serious happens. I guess all the money went to those stupid glass balls and Claire's super heels. Let me jump back for a second. I need to bring up Sarah. I think she's a fine character, a good foil to Ian, keeps that dynamic Grant and Ellie brought in the first film. I had one issue with her. The whole point of her going to the island was not just about documenting the dinosaurs, learning how they live and survive in the wild. She wanted to change the perspective of dinosaurs. Media has shown them as killing machines. I don't get that. The majority of animals in real life are killing machines. They kill to survive. People fear lions and bears because they can kill a person with ease. What makes this different from T-Rexes? To be fair to her side, we're guessing how the dinosaurs acted from their bones, but nature does have a basic foundation with how things work. And of course, not every single meat eater is some mindless killer. There's examples out there that lions love and respect their handlers when they grew up around them. But you still have to treat these animals with respect and limits. At the end of the day, they deserve respect like any other animal, but they are deadly That won't change. Sarah's motivation should have been about the research and share that common ground with Hammond so he has someone he knows he can trust to preserve the island. He really needs that now after his own family going against him. Let's move on to the action. I think most of the action scenes from the first one where Sarah's dealing with the Stegosauruses to the Velociraptor attack on Ian's family were good ideas. But all the linking bits suck. This is where JP2 really lacks compared to JP1. By the halfway point of the movie, it starts getting into pacing problems. Of course, after lots of action, there's going to be breakpoints. The audience and characters need it. But in JP2's case, the breakpoints were very lacking and boring. Take JP1. Even while the movie is in a breakpoint, there's still stuff going on, and the movie cuts around through these subplot lines. We have Moldons hunting the raptors. We have Sam Jackson's character trying to bypass Nedry's hack of the security system, Alan and the kids being sneezed on in the tree, Ellie and Hammond trying to figure out a plan in order to get systems back online. The park's problems were still front and center, all while we're seeing Hammond admit defeat in front of the gift shop. JP2 has Dieter's slow death by the compies, on top of barely knowing the hunting team, a slow, boring death with a character you don't know or care about. That's a recipe for disaster. This is the tipping point. The rest of the film gets locked into, and this happens, and this happens, and this happens. They need the story to do this so that they can set up the next big action sequence. It's a snowball till that horrible ending. Think about it. Ian's group released all the dinosaurs from the hunters. They nearly die falling off the cliff. The hunters save them, and then nothing happens. There's no attempted escapes. They even tried that scene with Sarah and Roland to show he cares. I'm like, what is going on here? They just released everything you captured, probably got some men killed, and nothing? That's right. We need a lead into the next dinosaur action scene, so we can't get into yelling, escape attempts, but we can waste 8 minutes on Dieter's slow death. Also, you gotta love when the T-Rexes ambush everyone. There's no perimeter alert, like tie a bunch of cans together for God's sake, or have 1 or 2 guys stay at watch. The hunters are quickly losing their IQ as we go through the film. This is where having grenades and RPGs would have been handy. I also love how Roland loads up his weapon, sticks one in his mouth while ignoring his vest that has lots of pockets to hold more. The crap hits the fan, everyone starts splitting up, guys getting killed by raptors, Ian's team breaks off to find the radio station, Nick goes on ahead and finds the building. That's fine and all. He finally gets a radio out for rescue, but then that stupidity virus hits Ian. This whole time, he's the only one who's tried to warn everyone, take precautions. They just survived almost getting killed by raptors. And what does he do?
Nick!
He yells out Nick's name multiple times. I'm sorry. Why? You know what Nick has to do, right? He has to find the radio. That means it's in a building. If you don't see him, either A, he's been killed, or B, he's in the building. Go inside without making noise. Did you forget raptors are not far behind you? This could have easily been fixed. Kelly is totally unexperienced dealing with all this. Have her make a mistake. She's trying to get away from the raptors, trip and bang on one of the metal doors. You don't have to make Ian look like a moron. Oh my God, this movie. I need to point out the 2 ways this scene has crap editing too. First, let's look at where the raptor comes out from. It's jumping out from behind that car. The same car the guys walked past. There was no way they couldn't, or us, not see a raptor sneaking up on them. And did you ever catch that Nick, during the entire raptor chase, he never comes out to help? Don't tell me he didn't hear the screams and the slamming on the walls. This most likely happened because cutting back to Nick while he flags down the chopper with his flashlight would have broken the tension of the scene. Editing did Nick real dirty. And we are finally here. The stupidest scene in Lost World. The boat that brings the sleeping T-Rex to shore. There's so many problems with this. When you have an 11-year-old catching these mistakes the first time watching the movie, you know you screwed up. Now, I am not against having a T-Rex get to San Diego and going on a rampage. Of course that's a cool action sequence. I just want it to make sense. I gave them too much credit when I heard about the half-complete park that was done on land. I thought that was being set up to aid in the T-Rex rampage. No, I'm thinking logically here, and movies love to be against that. We have to ignore logic and proper storytelling because we just want to reach those feelings. So let's break down this scene. First, I'll complain about the time. Hammond's nephew brings a press conference to the dock for the big reveal of the T-Rex. This is confusing because it's nighttime still. Are they trying to say all this happened in the same one night? We had all that time on the island at night, then we had the time to fly back from there to San Diego, then nephew got to change clothes, and Ian was able to get his car. This can't happen all in one night. If this is not supposed to be the same night, then you make the problems on the boat even worse. Now, the boat. So somehow, the whole crew was killed. People love to use the defense of, well, raptors must have killed the crew. You got a load of problems with that. Okay, they came aboard, killed the humans, and whatnot. How did they come aboard? Raptors are the same size as humans, roughly. They can jump high, we can see them clear a car easily, but looking at JP1 when they try to get Lex's leg, that's maybe 8 or 9 feet. How big is the boat again? It's a ship. And you can't say they were docked because the ship was moving. So you have the problem of them getting on board in the first place. Then you have the whole issue of the boat getting to shore and no one getting a mating out before they got killed. I'm sorry, the bridge is not on the deck. They would have locked the doors and gotten an alert out. Then you have the whole problem of the boat even reaching shore. Let's ignore everything I said before. The raptors killed the crew, jumped off quickly because they're smart animals and would be stuck on the boat if they got too far from shore, and somehow the boat was able to reach its destination with no one driving. I'd like to see your car drive in a straight line with no one on steering. You're lucky you'd get 10 seconds. That boat would have been pushed all over the place and never reached San Diego. But what about autopilot? Boats have that too. I doubt it was left on while they're being attacked by raptors. Plus the guy's hand was on the wheel. Nothing works here. Now, when I was 11, I thought that somehow the T-Rex got free, killed all the crew, even though the crew could have hid in the ship. T-Rex's butt ain't fitting down below, then nicely climbed back into the cargo hold and got trapped. See how stupid all this is? Then they push it even more. We have a severed hand holding down the controls of the door. Why would that cause it to go up and down? It either would have closed or went open. Why did Ian stare at the controls and door for so long before reacting to the guy that picked it up? All they had to do was have the boat lose power when it crashed or have a hull breach where the T-Rex could escape. Wait, what am I doing? This entire sequence is messed up. Me fixing one section doesn't work. But who cares about that? You just want that awesome shot of the Rex roaring in front of buildings. Then as a final piss you off moment, we see pteranodons flying around the island. Yeah, that makes sense. 1, Hammond greenlighting flying dinosaurs is a dumb idea, which we'll see in the third film. And second, why haven't the dinos been found out? They clearly escaped and could fly to shore, and this is 4 years later. Oh no, we have to have a cool shot for the ending. Don't think about the implications, and also don't think about it when we do see them in the third movie where Alan would have been screwed because the enclosure has freaking holes in it. They should be all over the island in the second film and the third film. The internal consistency between the movies isn't even consistent. Like, what the hell happened with the end of this movie? Okay. It's time for me to fix. All the action stuff I want to keep, including the ending. The basic story stays the same, just with some tweaks. Same hero characters, but some of the hunters are removed like Dieter. Shrink them down to just the key roles. I'm also going to use Roland's obsession of getting the T-Rex to fix the ending. It's been 4 years since the events of JP1. Hammond has been using his control and money of InGen to try and protect the dinosaurs. He's paid for a quarantine around the island and kept the existence of dinosaurs under wrap as much as he could. The opening is changed to a group of poachers that were able to get past the blockade, and they met their gruesome end. Because of the 4 years of paying for that blockade, it has severely exhausted Hammond's finances to the point of the InGen board removing Hammond as CEO, replacing him with his nephew. The same things happen with Ian, his family, the reason he goes to the island, but we find out that Sarah became Hammond's closest friend. She believed in him. With the exception of Lex and Tim, he had no family left. So Sarah becomes someone he can trust to keep his vision going, so she goes on that mission for personal reasons as well as academical reasons. That's what I got from the movie. They wanted her going there to be more important than just facts and figures, just not the way the movie originally did it. Everything else stays the same. There's two teams, two different goals, but this time, Roland's huge want to capture a T-Rex causes a lot of problems. I'm going to keep Roland as the villain and removing all those tries at making the audience give him a break. He's a bad guy all the way through. This time around, they bring explosive grenades, a minigun, and an RPG. We get to see all this in action. Think of it like how Alien went to Aliens. It was more action focused. Clearly, JP2 is trying to be bigger, and I understand to not turn this into an R-rated movie. So the high-power weapons will be used as last resorts, tastefully, and ways to corral the larger dinos. We get to see all this in their first captures. What I will change is what happens during the dino breakout. Some dinos do get away, but not as many. A lot of the small ones are rounded up. Roland's first attempt at getting the T-Rex fails like in the movie. Ian's group is captured the same, but this time they argue, threaten, they overhear where the radio station is, they escape. Roland's dealing with that problem. We have Hammond's nephew being annoying. He's pointing out how much money they used on ammunition. They recapture a few of the larger dinos again. All while this is going on, raptors are stalking the humans. The large explosions drew their attention. I want to take advantage of their intelligence. They watch and understand this is bad, that's bad. Eventually, Roland gets a second shot at the T-Rex. He successfully captures it, but he accidentally catches the female T-Rex. That's not what he wants. Nephew doesn't care about that. He got a T-Rex. This is where things change. Roland wants to get the male T-Rex at all costs. He's going to stay on the island, and some of the other hunters want to join him. They want revenge on the people who died during the dino breakout. Nephew is like, fine, you want your little war? That's up to you. I'm leaving with the T-Rex. Nephew is removed from the story. His crew gets to the radio tower. The T-Rex and baby are shipped back to the mainland, avoiding the entire boat sequence. Because of the raptor stalking everyone, after Ian and the others escaped, they were cut off from reaching the radio tower. They would have to deal with minor side stuff while they try to go around the raptor area to get to the radio tower. Like in the original movie, slowly their weapons run out, we get to see a few dino kills, but everyone gets whittled down to Roland versus the T-Rex. He, of course, gets his comeuppance. Ian's gang has to deal with the same issues from the movie. Some of the hunter guys had tried going back to the radio to escape, but they got taken out, so now the raptors are all around the radio tower. Ian's team tries their best to sneak in. Nick gets in first and radios for help. Kelly screws up and alerts the raptors. One change, instead of 3, there's 4 raptors, so Nick has problems of his own. He sends out the distress call. They're all running for their lives. Everything plays out the same with Ian and the girls, but Nick gets saved at the last minute by the rescue chopper shooting the raptor. About a day has passed since the T-Rex was being moved. They finally reach shore. The T-Rex is offloaded while the baby is sent to the incomplete site where the T-Rex starts to die. And kind of like a reference to the first movie, something has to go wrong during transport. They counteract the sedative, the T-Rex wakes up, breaks out of its cage, and goes on its rampage in San Diego. The world finds out about dinosaurs. Ian and Sarah do their thing, trank it, and they get sent back to the island. One final change. The pteranodons are removed. Instead, we get to see some other new dinosaurs, giving that possibility of maybe we'll see them in a third film. A good movie is in Lost World. It's just they rushed it out the door and needed a few more cracks at the writing. They were so focused on all the cool action moments, they needed to slow down and fix these problems in the script. JP2 is not the worst Jurassic movie. There's worse. Time to move on to Jurassic Park 3.